Welcome back to our mono normal team, where we are attempting to beat Florinia with Vigoroth, Lopunny, Hokion and Toxion. We lead off with Vigoroth against her Thwackey. This is going to be a compilation of all 18 teams, and first off we have Thwackey versus we have Vigoroth versus her Sinistcha. Too bad it's not really going to be good. But we have Hokion, which is going to get rid of Sinistcha. Then against Eldegoss. Now against Sunflora. We're going to stay in. Down goes Sunflora. Next up is going to be Cradily. We are going to bring in Lopunny for double kick. And this Cradily unfortunately has quite an annoying strategy. It has recover and stockpile. Yeah. Annoying as it can be, basically. What can we do? We're just going to have to whittle Cradily down. It's basically a battle of wills right now, but we're going to get through it. Not ourselves, not with Lopunny, but in the future. And down goes Lopunny. And now we are going to bring in Toxion for a poison tail. Of course, we're going to get a super potion for our dear Cradily, which most likely has run out of recovers by now. But the gym leader hasn't run out of super potions. At least Toxion is down, but Cradily is basically on 1 HP. And we're going to finish it off with Air Cutter. And next up we have Diplin, and we're going to stay in. And finally back to Thwackey. And that's going to be our mono normal. Next up is going to be the mono fighting and mono fire all in one, because we can solo Florinia with just Monferno. So you get a 2-for-1 special. Pick Monferno and yeah, just go for power up punch. You can see it's going to be pretty unfair. Power up punch in this mod pack, is learned via level up. I don't know if it's been added through a newer generation, but I don't remember the base game having power up punch being given to Monferno. And as you can see, why? It's pretty broken. See that, Cradily? Yeah, it's been deleted. This is the fastest run of this of the whole 18 battles. Well, 17, because yeah, mono flying, Charmeleon and Vespiquen. Yeah, if only all the others were just as smooth as mono fighting and mono fire. But well, Charmeleon is going to Fire Fang Thwackey. In comes Sinistcha. And down goes Sinistra. Next up is going to be Diplin. And we're going to bring in either Vespiquen or we're going to stay in with Charmeleon. I don't remember exactly what choice did I make back then. This is a voiceover because my microphone was sadly not picked up, so it's not exactly I don't know exactly what my words were back then. Yeah. So yeah, that's Diplin almost gone due to Vespiquen. Next up is Sunflora, which is going to almost get deleted. Yep. Oh boy, next up is going to be Credilly. And it's going to get rid of us. But fortunately for us, we have Charmeleon with Dragon Rage. And it missed its Rock Blast. And now we just have Eldegoss. And we just use Fire Fang a couple times to get rid of it. And that's Mono Flying done, basically. Next up is Mono Poison with Nidorino, Trubbish and Coughing. We lead off with Trubbish. We set up two layers of Toxic Spikes. And then we go for Acid Spray to get rid of Thwackey. Next up is going to be Sinistra. And I think we're going to stay in. No, we're going to get Nidorino in. But either way, Sinistra is going to go down due to poison. Next up is going to be Eldegoss. And there goes Eldegoss. And now we're going to bring in Coughing. And there we have Credilly. It's been badly poisoned. And now we just have to use Clear Smog to get rid of its stockpile. Basically that tells the AI, do not try that. And I think it got the message. And there goes Credilly. Yeah, use Clear Smog Coughing for this team. And here's Sunflora. And we're going to basically just whittle it down with Sludge. And finally Diplin. Again, badly poisoned. And there it goes. Next up, Monoground with 2 Nidorinos and Teddiursa. 2 Nidorinos, why? Because there are 2 Megas for Nidokings. And yeah, I just decided to copy the Mono Poison with having 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. And now just going to town with Poison Sting. Next up is going to be Sinistra. And I'm going to bring in Teddiursa for this, just because. And of course we get burned, and unfortunately Teddiursa doesn't have guts, unlike Ursa Ring. So yeah, it's... unfortunately it didn't do much. And we're going to bring back our first Nidorino and use Bite against Sinistra, making sure it goes down. And we're considering whether or not to bring in Numel, I think, or Wormadam. But we decide against it. And now we have Nidorino versus Diplin. Fortunately we got crit. And down goes the first Nidorino, and I decide to double down, so to say. And there's Credeli. And we're going to use double kick for a bit of extra help, but Credeli, even if it recovers, which it doesn't get a chance to, would have been dead due to toxic. Next up is Eldegoss. Fortunately, is going to get rid of our toxic spikes, but could be worse. They've done their job. And Eldegoss goes down to poison. Next up is going to be Sunflora, and I decide to stay in. And poison sting. And it's already been poisoned. Just regular poison this time, but still it doesn't matter since it goes down to the next turn. And Diplin is up next. And we just have to wait. Because Diplin, even though it's going to kill our last Nidorino, it's going to go down to poison. So yeah, that's how we win. Next up, Mono Rock with Aaron, Grottle, Castform, and Slugma. Why Grottle? Because in this mod pack, Torterra gets a part rock Mega Evolution. And why Castform? Because in this mod pack, Castform gets a form for sandstorm weather. Even though it's not really shown in this case. But trust me, it's there. And now we're going to use Castform to use Powder Snow against Diplin. Yeah, Diplin goes down. Next up is Credeli. We consider using Aaron, but we go for Slugma. And we choose to go with Jan, and then, well, unfortunately, we can't use Smog, but it put Credeli to sleep, helping us bring in Aaron, if I remember correctly. But first we need to check. Yeah, we're going to bring in Aaron. And we're just going to use Metal Claw. I was basically hoping to get some attack increases, but unfortunately Credeli recovers and we don't get any attack increases. And what can you do? We keep on trucking on with Aaron. Unfortunately, it's a pretty annoying long fight. What can you do against it? Credeli gets its full free stockpiles and it goes on to just recover. And of course it uses its potion. But we get a crit! That saves us. And now we just have to deal with Sinistcha, which is going to take down Aaron, unfortunately. And we're going to go into our trusty Castform and hope for the best, which isn't going to be much, unfortunately. And as such, we are left with a dilemma, and we're going to go for Grottle. We're going to use Bite to get rid of Sinistcha, and we are going to stay in against Eldegoss, basically hoping to get some lucky flinches, although our speed is pretty low now. Yeah. We're not going to get any flinches, unfortunately. Well, we get some special defense increases, so that's good. And of course Florinia has 2 super potions. which is annoying, but what can you do? And there goes Eldegoss, and next up is Sunflora. Good thing we have +6 special defense. And we just have to bite Sunflora. Fortunately, it also has Morning Sun, so it's getting some unfortunate recovery. What can you do? At some point, even it gets tired of us. And we get beat it with 1 HP. Next up, Monobug with Mutton, Charjabug, Butterfree, Vespiquen, and Masquerain. Whew, that's a mouthful. And we lead up with Charjabug. Next, it's going to bring in Sinistcha, which, yeah, we are going to deal with acrobatics. Next up is going to be Dipplin. We're going to deal with it with a critical acrobatics. Don't know if it mattered, but hey, it's something. Now we have to deal with Credilli. Kind of wondering if I should stay in with Charjabug. And I go into Vespiquen to use Fury Cutter against it. Unfortunately, we kind of get pummeled by it. Next up, back to Charjabug to use Bug Bite. Fortunately for us, Charjabug is pretty tanky, and it goes down to Thwackey, unfortunately. Next up, we go to Muffin to use Bug Bite there. Doesn't really get to do much. It just gets rid of Thwackey, and then we get paralyzed and can't do anything against Eldegoss. And we are going to Butterfree for a bit of Bug Bite. And we get rid of Eldegoss. Next up is going to be Sunflora. We stay in and we try to live. Fortunately, for some reason, Sunflora is faster. And now we go to Masquerain and we use Gust, and that's Monobug done. Next up, Monoghost with Vulpix and Mightyena. Well, Mega Ninetales exists in this mod pack and is part Ghost, and there's also Mega Mightyena, which is part Ghost. So both of them are technically valid for a Monoghost run. So we deal with our first Pokemon, then we bring in Mightyena. Fortunately, Mightyena can just bite and flinch, and after Dipplin it gets its first Moxie boost. Next up is going to be Sunflora, and we almost one-hit KO it. And now we have our second Moxie boost. Next up is going to be Credilli, and we have our we almost die, but we now have our third Moxie boost. And there goes Sinistcha with our fourth Moxie boost. Next up is going to be Eldegoss. And finally we beat Florinia with Ghost. Next up, Monosteel with Nidorino and Wormadam Trash Cloak. Why Nidorino? Because one of its mega forms of the Nidoking gets part Steel. So we are going to set up our Toxic Spikes and deal with the team like before. Poison Sting, hope for the best. Down goes Thwackey. Next up is going to be Sinistcha. considering whether I should go to War Madame, but I stay in and use Bite. It's going to try and hex us, but it's flinched, and now down goes Sinistra. Next up is going to be Eldegoss. Fortunately, it's going to lower our speed, and we almost die. Fortunately, we still outspeed it. Next up is going to be Diplin, and it's going to kill Nidorino, unfortunately. And next up is going to be War Madame. First off, I decide to look up if I should bring in one of the others. And I decide against it and go for War Madame. I think I was considering Pineco for a moment. But I decide to go for Protect to get some extra chip damage from... Well, that was fast. We got rid of Sunflora. And I'm considering whether I should go for one of the other steel types, but I decide to stay in. Credily is going to stay in, get poisoned. I use Protect to protect myself, then I use Bug Bite, and then Protect again, just to protect myself, and again Bug Bite. Next up, we finish up Diplin. And that's pretty much Mono Steel. Next up is going to be Mono Water with Spheal, Quaxwell, Castform, and Masquerain. We lead up with Quaxwell for a wing attack. Fortunately, Twaki is going to get us down to almost 1/3 of our max HP. And then we continue with Sinistra, which is going to kill us, unfortunately. Okay, next up, Masquerain. And we use Gust to get rid of Sinistra. Considering what Pokemon I should bring in, since yeah, we're in a grass gym, unfortunately. So I bring in Spheal. Not the best Pokemon, but it's part ice. So yeah, I'm going to use Aurora Beam. Credily is going to keep stockpiling up, and then it's going to use Recover. And we finally get lucky with a crit. That's good. I'm going to stay in and use Spheal's Aurora Beam against Eldegoss, which has a Resist Berry. But we are going to stay in. It almost goes down, but it manages to kill my Spheal. Well, what can you do? Masquerain is coming in, and then we revenge kill Eldegoss, and now we are going against Sunflora. Sunflora almost manages to kill my Masquerain, and now we have Diplin, which is going to kill our Masquerain, and finally I think we go into our cast form. And we're going to use Powder Snow against Diplin. And there goes that. Next up, Monograss with Snover, Florigato, and Wormadam Plant Cloak. Well, first off we lead with Florigato. We use U-turn to get rid of Twaki and bring in Snover. And she decides to bring in Sinistra. We use Icy Wind And it lowers its speed, which doesn't really matter. Either way, it's going to go down. Next up is going to be Eldegoss. And we are going to basically lower our speeds. Snover unfortunately goes down. I go back to Eldegoss, to Floragato. And unfortunately, we are going to use our U-turn to go to Wormadam. If you saw those two Dartrixes, yeah, I brought them, but I didn't use them. I was tired by this point, and I forgot that they aren't available. They aren't supposed to be available since I already have Floragato as my starter in this fight, but they're not going to be used either way. Wormadam is going to solo Diplin. Unfortunately gets paralyzed, but Eldegoss is also pretty weak. Next up is going to be Sunflora, and we're just going to get our Diplin killed, or Pokemon killed, but also, yeah, that's it. Mono Electric, Loudred, Electrike, Charjabug, and Palmot. As I stated in a previous video, there is a there's a Mega Explode which is part electric. In this case, we have Scrappy as our ability, so even though they brought in Sinistcha, we managed to get our echoed voice. And next up is going to be Cradily. I stay in, and unfortunately that's as far as Loudred can go. It did its part. We are going to bring in Charjabug for a Bug Bite, and it almost finishes up Cradily. And now it does. Thwackey is going to be next, and it's almost going to go down. Unfortunately, it manages to get our Charjabug. And I'm considering whether or not I should bring in Electrike. I probably should have gone for Quick Attack, but still. What's done is done. Next up is Eldegoss. And we're just going to use Ice Fang. Unfortunately, we get outsped. And next up, we're going to go for Palmot, if I remember correctly. And just use Arm Thrust. Next up is going to be Sunflora, and it's going to go down to 2 Arm Thrusts. Or 3. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. That's Mono Grass. Next up, Mono Psyche with Noctowl, Braixen, and Female Meowstic. Braixen against Thwackey. Get some speed boosts. Gets rid of Thwackey. And I'm going to speed boost again, or Psybeam Diplin. Fortunately, it's not going to matter, so I'm going to go with speed boost again. We get a crit. And next up is going to be Cradily. Fortunately, we don't do much damage against Cradily, so we're going to go down. And we're going to bring in Female Meowstic here. use a fake out, and then a Psy Shock to get rid of Credilli. Next up is going to be Sinistra, so we are considering what to bring in. And we decide Noctowl would be a good choice. And then we get rid of Sinistra and we go towards Eldegoss. And we get rid of Eldegoss. Next up is going to be Sunflora. And that's Mono Psychic done. Next up, Mono Ice with Snover, Castform, and Alolan Vulpix. Okay. We lead off with Snover. And we go against Eldegoss. Almost get rid of Eldegoss. And now we have gotten rid of Eldegoss. Next up is going to be Sinistra, so I'm going to bring in my Castform and use Weather Ball on Sinistra to get rid of it. Thwackey is going to come in. We are going to get rid of it again with Weather Ball. And we need to get in Diplin. We need to get in Alolan Vulpix here. We get a lucky crit with Icy Wind. Next up is going to be Credilli. And I'm considering whether or not I should stay in. But I decide to... I decide to go to Castform. And we almost get rid of Credilli. Even though we are hit 5 times, the next turn we get rid of Credilli. And next up is going to be Sunflora. And I'm just going to stay in. And that's Mono Ice done. Mono Dragon with Grovyle and Mothim. Yeah, maybe I could have used another Pokemon besides Mothim, but I didn't want to risk it. So I just used Fury Cutter with Grovyle. Just keep using Fury Cutter. We got rid of Sinistra. Next up is going to be Thwackey. We got rid of Thwackey. Next up is going to be Eldegoss. Sunflora. Diplin. And next up is Credilli. And we just barely make it. I don't want to get rid of... I don't want to give Credilli a chance, so I bring in Muffin. I don't want it to recover. Okay, Mono Dark, Impidimp, Torracat, and Mightyena. Whew. So we lead out with Impidimp, his Fake Out and Assurance. And Florinia brings in Eldegoss. And we get rid of Eldegoss with Impidimp. We're going to... We are considering whether or not we should bring in Torracat. And that we do. We almost get rid of Thwackey with Fire Fang. Okay, next up is going to be Diplin, and we use our Dual Chop. Unfortunately we got paralyzed, but we still outspeed it. Next up is going to be Sinischa, and we're going to die to Hex, unfortunately. Seriously considering bringing in Impidimp, and we get a bit of chip damage. And now we can bring in Mightyena for a bit of Moxie boost. Next up is going to be Sunflora. We get our second Moxie boost, and finally Credilli. And we've managed to... we manage it. Mono Fairy, Impidimp, Alcremie, Alolan Vulpix, and Coughing. Okay. Impidimp again against Thwackey. Fake Out. And Assurance. Again, same as last time, we go against Eldegoss. And that's it for Eldegoss. Next up is going to be Sinischa. And unfortunately we go down. Now we bring in Alolan Vulpix for some Icy Wind shenanigans. Fortunately we get critted. But we do manage to get rid of Sinischa. Next up is going to be Thwackey. And we get its speed down. Then I bring in Coughing. I use Clear Smog. Then it's going to be Sunflora, and I think I decide to stay in. I'm just considering other possibilities, but yeah, I'm staying in. Fortunately, Sunflora does have Morning Sun, and Credilli finally gets poisoned, so that's good. Unfortunately, it has Recover. And we go down as Coughing. And now we have to bring in somebody. And I decide to test out Alcremie with Draining Kiss. It doesn't do much, but still. It can do some damage. Fortunately, Credilli went down. Next up is Diplin. And Diplin goes down. And finally we have Sunflora, which is already weakened. But we have 2 super potions to go through, I think. Or at least just one. And that's Mono Fairy done.